So we started off the day talking about concerns for kids. We started off the day talking about ARDS, where you're trying to get kids into special needs programs should they need them. Then we've moved on to confidentiality, aged out. But what we want to do here is talk about tools that you might be able to share with students you come into contact with in high school so that they can have those tools and move beyond. And without further ado, here is Brian Larson.
Well, good afternoon, folks, and thank you, Mary. As Mary was saying, thank you for staying, first of all. I know at the end of a long day of meetings, it can be hard to want to stick around for one more, but I'm hoping that we're going to be able to offer some ideas about the next chapter, about resources that are available for young people beyond high school to move on to the next thing, not just college, but potentially work or technical education or law school, since that's where I come from. I'm an associate professor of law at Texas A&M's Law School in Fort Worth. And I'm also a member of the school's diversity committee and faculty advisor to the Outlaw LGBTQIA and Allies student group. I'd like to introduce quickly the panelists, and then I'll tell you what our format is, and then we'll get started. So to my immediate right is Ms. Lakia Lewis, wait, all of a sudden I have my papers turned the wrong way. Ms. Lewis is the education advocate at City Square Track. And to her right is Dr. Shirley Higgs. Dr. Higgs is the executive administrator of foster care and veterans affairs at Dallas County Community College District. And to her right is Ms. Tamiko Lewis, who is coordinator for the Career Clusters Support in the Career and Technical Education Department at Dallas ISD. So what we're planning to do here today is to talk a little bit about the next chapter, what happens after high school. And I want to say, just as, because I've introduced our folks here, because we have two Ms. Lewises, I might normally like to refer to everyone with their name and title. Because we have two Ms. Lewises, we've agreed we're going to use first names today. So it's Tamiko, Shirley, Lakia, and Brian. So what we'd like to do is to start with each panelist telling us a little bit about the program or organization with which she works and what kinds of resources they might be able to bring to the young people with whom you're interacting regularly. And we'll give each a few minutes to do that kind of free form. After that, after each of them has done that, we'll open it to questions from the floor. So if you have questions about what kinds of resources might be available and whether any of their groups can help or whether they know of another group that can help, we'll direct them accordingly. All right? So why don't we begin, and we can just work from the right to the left, or our right to our left, or left to our right. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Let's start with Lakia.
Okay. Once again, I'm Lakia Lewis. I work for City Square Track. Track has been around since 2003, and we basically work with youth in and out of foster care. So we start our services at 16 years old for the PAL classes. So I previously served in that position. That stands for Preparation for Adult Living. So I know in some of the podcasts, we heard them talking about banking and budgeting and filling out college applications. So that starts at 16 with our program. And so they'll go through housing and transportation. They'll talk about leases. They'll talk about cars, everything you can think of in and out. They start learning about interest rates. So we begin there at City Square. We have 5 different programs at Track, including housing, and then now education, which just recently started last year. We partnered with Texas Workforce Commission with DISD as well to be the drop-in center to work with that grant. So in that grant, basically what we're trying to do is increase the number of youth who are graduating from high school and entering into post-secondary education. So one of the most common statistics out there is that about 50% of youth who've aged out of foster care or have had any time in foster care graduate from high school, and only 3% of them graduate with a bachelor's degree. So we're really hoping to improve those numbers with this program and partnership with Dallas ISD. So my job specifically is I'm that coach that goes with them to the colleges. If they are having issues and they don't know what else to do, they call me, they text me, Ms. Kia, I don't know what's going on with my financial aid. Okay, well, let me meet with you wherever you want to meet. I drive to youth, I go to their houses, apartments, schools, McDonald's, Starbucks, wherever they're comfortable working on their issues, that's where I go. So I'll go into the schools with them if they need me to. Sometimes it might just be a phone call, or I talk them through it over the phone. However it looks for them, that's my job, is to be there, walking with them hand in hand with their issues for school. I also help them get their tuition waiver letter from the state. So I help them with the ETV. I don't know how much you want me to go into this. So the education training vouchers, someone spoke about that earlier. I help them through that application process. Any application that they need help with, I'm there side by side with them doing that. So I'll pass that on.
Good afternoon again. I'm Shirley Higgs. My role in the Dallas County Community College as Executive Administrator of Veteran Affairs, but the Chancellor as of July 2017, Dr. Joe May, asked me to build an infrastructure for foster care for Dallas County Community College. Because what we figured out is students are coming to the Dallas County Community College and they are using their tuition waiver to start the process onboarding, but we're finding that we're not keeping students. So one of our trustees wanted to do a little bit more. So I'm still in the fact-finding stage, but what I have done is just the common sense things, partner with TRAC and different community resources to make sure that we have a foster care champion at each college. That person is designated to work with students as they come into the 7 Dallas County Community College to become educated, to use their vouchers, financial aid, get stopped at the counter because they didn't understand what it is that they needed to do and didn't have anyone that they could go to other than an advisor that didn't understand a lot about this particular population. So with all that said, I'm pretty much in the building stage of the infrastructure of the Dallas County Community College foster care program, and I'm very excited in what I'm finding and looking for grants and partnerships with different entities so that we can help these students. And what I did, I explained to Dr. May, in order for me to do the work and to be very effective, I need to be on a college campus. So since I'm working with Veteran Affairs, I'm housed at Cedar Valley, which is down the street from the Veteran Hospital. And what I did in my first semester at Cedar Valley, I hired 2 foster care students, and wow, did they enlighten my life. So with all that said, that is the true story, and I'm excited, and I think Dr. May have chosen the best person to get this job done.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Tomiko Lewis, and I am one of the coordinators in the Career and Technical Education Department for Dallas ISD. Our department's vision is that all of our students would leave prepared for a career field in which they can have earn a living wage and ultimately have higher opportunities for advancement within their chosen career field and continue to be lifelong learners. Our department supports all 16 career clusters as identified by the Department of Education. It's found at multiple high schools throughout our district, and within that we offer over 200 plus courses in the district and a variety of career pathways for our students. So our students are also able to participate and earn paid internships while they're in school. Many of them also graduate with the opportunities for industry recognized certifications where they can go directly into a position, or they can use that to go into higher ed. I know that some schools look at, do you have Excel, for example, certifications before you can be, accepted into their schools of business. And so we also work with some of our other departments to make sure students have opportunity for dual credit. And so we have 18 collegiate academies in our school district right now, and our students are able to have the opportunity to leave with an associate's degree when they start their freshman year. So we have plenty of opportunities for our students, and we're always looking for more ways to partner with the business community, and also we work really closely with Dallas County Community College District to offer those associate degrees for our students who are in our early college and collegiate or P-Tech, B-Tech academies.
Great, thank you for those introductions. So I'll start us off with a question, and I think it stems from what we saw in the last session where we witnessed the podcast of young people who had dreams and they went off after their time in foster care. I think all three of them to college. Is that not correct? But to four-year college programs, but there's a wide spectrum of dreams that students might have, and it seems to me that you all represent different ways that students can carry out those dreams. What do you think is the best way to help young people understand what the spectrum of dreams available to them is without trying to push them in any particular direction?
Well, I'll go ahead and take that question. Of course, because of the educator in me, what I do is allow students to first be that student. I make them feel comfortable being who they are, why they feel that they are the way that they are, and then I help them start to determine which direction they need to go. What I find, a lot of students come in, everybody want to be a doctor, a lawyer, something sound fancy, and have no idea what it might take to get there. So what I do is allow them to just continue to dream the way that they want to dream, but give them the exposure, making sure that they understand basics so that they don't start all over the place and find out because they have a waiver that they have taken a lot of classes that they really can't use because they're really not decided in the direction that they really should go, because we all know when we first started our educational process, we didn't know a lot neither. And if you did, that was kind of a little uncommon, but even not being first generation, I did not know everything that I needed to know. And my family lived and breathed education. So with that said, it's to give students the right base when they first come on board and start in their educational process. And that's what I'm building into this infrastructure, so that they will have a mentor on the educational side to help navigate the system with the unknown and determining what their likes and understanding themselves. And the last thing that I would like to say as it relates to that, I found that the students that I hired to work with me to help build this infrastructure, I spent a lot of my time listening to them talk about wanting to go back to the families that they came out of, and that sense of wanting to belong and not understanding why did this happen to me. So with all of that said, helping them to understand themselves and that none of us are perfect and it's okay, but this is what we have to do to get to our end goal.
Our district offers a district-wide college fair every year in September, and it's open to usually juniors and seniors at every high school. We even provide transportation from those high schools. Each campus has what we call a college access provider. Their specific titles may be different at the campus level, but that person is charged with working with the counselors and then providing all the post-secondary opportunities that are available, whether it's 2-year, 4-year, trade technical, as well as all the scholarship opportunities that are out there as well. Our district also has what we call NAF academies, and these are career theme academies where students are able to take a sequence of courses over their 4 years in high school and really get an idea and understanding if this is a program that's really meant for me, post high school. So it can be, finance, it can be IT, engineering, health sciences, etc. But at least they're learning, and of course it's free to them to do so. Just like any other career pathway that they may choose, we offer, automotive, cosmetology, culinary, etc. And all of those provide, opportunities for students to be able to get an insight as to what's available. Our department supports, the college tours for teachers who want to take students to college campuses, and that's done on a very regular basis. So there are ways for students to be able to decide and determine, if this is really, the true pathway, for the next step for me.
In helping them find that, what I do as a coach with the young people who are in my program, we do something called PICS, which is basically a picture inventory book that shows what kind of careers you'd be interested in based off just pictures, something really simple to say what types of things are you naturally interested in, and then what kind of career is also linked to that. So then we can look at, what educational route do you need to take to be able to do those things that you're already interested in? So we use that, and I also often use Texas Reality Check. And so basically this is online, and that allows you to go in and do the same thing online instead of with the paper book. And they can look at different careers, and it'll show you, if you want to be a doctor or you want to be a lawyer, this is how long it's going to take. These are the classes that you're going to have to take, and it really breaks it down for them. So I'm not a math person, but you got to love some math to do some of these careers. And so our youth are like, I'm really, really bad at math. I don't know if that might be the best option for me if I have to take 12 math classes. So that really helps with my youth and them understanding, okay, I need to figure something else out and pick another thing that I'm good at or interested in.
Why don't we switch to see if you have any questions for this group about resources that they might be able to provide for the young people that you're working with? Any problems that you or your programs are facing that their programs might be able to assist with? Oh, I'm sorry, did I miss one?
Hi, you mentioned the college tours, and I've heard from a number of different sources, and sometimes it's even church groups will sponsor tours and take a busload of kids to a college campus, and they talk about just what a tremendous impact that has. Can you talk a little bit more about what you've seen in terms of success and impact from the college tours, and what age is the best time to introduce them to a college campus?
So I was at one of our campuses recently, and they were able to get some community donations to charter a couple of buses to a university in Oklahoma. And so in speaking with the teacher, the students, most of them had never been to a college campus. And they took, I think, most of their juniors, sophomores, and junior students on this tour. And she said, while it wasn't the biggest campus or the best, fanciest campus, all the students, their eyes were really opened and they could see themselves there. And so, many of the students came back to school with that, sweatshirt on from that university. Even if, going out of state may not be an option, they now know that college is an option. And I think the more our students are able to see themselves in that setting, whether it's going to UT Dallas or to SMU or DCCCD, I think the reality is, okay, I can get here. What do I need to do now? And so the students are all really excited about going to college, and some really are interested in university, and others are, okay, where else can I go? Because I really do see myself here, and now they know the opportunity exists. And that school is a very small school, and this is just their first year to have a graduating class, but I think most of those students will be at a post-secondary location when they graduate because of that.
I'd like to follow up with that. It doesn't have to be, juniors, seniors. I think really getting people involved in post-secondary education can start as little as, newborns, when you see those little onesies that have a double T on it or has a UT Longhorn on it, and really just fostering the environment or A&M. Really just really starting it at a really young age. And, our CASAs who are working with young people at 7 and 11, just talking to them already about where do you think you want to go to college? And starting that at a younger age so that they're excited about it helps as well, instead of, waiting until they're 16 or 17 and, they should have already been applying and looking. So that can be very helpful for people who are involved before we get to this, the older age where we're in high school and post-secondary already. So.
Right, and the structure that I plan to build will start at least at second grade.
Did you say second grade? Is that correct?
Yes, because
okay, good.
That's when, right before the third grade, once students start to read and write and understand more about life other than ABC. So what
I think that
plan-
microphone needs you to be really close for some reason.
Okay,
It
so
seems
what
not
I
to be-
plan to
There you
do
go.
is build second grade into some type of grant. I've been working with some of the local churches in the southern sector of Dallas. One in particular is encouraging the membership to consider adoption and foster care. And so I'm starting with groups like that. And some daycares around the area have been giving me a lot of input in what they're finding, some of the issues with the smaller children that they're caring for that just have not met things that they should have in their developmental stages. So I think the second grade would be fair to start trying to instill in them the college concept where they kind of understand a little bit more.
We'll go back here. It looks like there's a mic right there.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I volunteer with CASA, and I have a 17-year-old girl that's about to age out and is desperately wanting to get out of the system and go on her own. And we've had our appointment at Track, took her down there and introduced her to a lot of things. The challenge is, I think, getting her to realize, what's realistic and what options are really there for her, and how to get her motivated or just interested in kind of making a couple of phone calls and doing things. I'm trying to, get her, involved in the process instead of me just doing a lot of it. Any recommendations on how to get her started with that?
Okay, so a lot of times what I've witnessed when we're seeing that is mostly out of fear of that they are about to be on their own. And so if they don't do anything proactive in the, that if this is happening, then it's not, in their mind, it's not happening at all. So I'd really just encourage her to maybe reach out to, does she have any friend bases that are also in foster care or aging out? Okay, so I would encourage her to become a part of a youth leadership committee. We have one at Track. And so that's just other people, just like her, who are also about to age out of the care. And that way it's coming, she has people that she can relate to and they can work through it together. Kind of in a therapeutic setting, but more laid back environment, just friend to friend. That might be helpful for her, because basically what I'm hearing is that right now she's not accepting the fact that she's about to turn 18, and that's scary, and that she'll be on her own, and some of these things she'll have to do by herself. So just kind of putting her in a friend group that can help her work through that.
Right, and one of the things I have implemented at Cedar Valley, since I'm housed on that campus, one of the students that is the tour for students, he is a foster care student, and he enjoyed just talking to students, period. So that may help just to sign up for a tour, and she will realize, because he shares his experience with everyone, because he's proud of what he's trying to do, and that probably would help her open up.
Can you be a resource for us? I mean, can we contact you?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm listed on DCC website as the executive administrator.
Do you all work together?
Yes, I just met her today, but I worked with someone else from the ISD.
She was my director, actually.
Okay.
And we just had a meeting
Oh,
like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and so we're always,
all the time.
yes, we definitely are all working together.
So are we doing this around the state? Is this like,
Yes, the state of Texas has a website, Educational Reach. It's all Texas colleges. We meet twice a year, and we know each other, and that's what we're doing, is working together to just come up with a seamless process from the community college to any Texas college. If you pull it up, I believe it's Educational Reach for Texas.
okay, so is that foster person at each high school or each school that
Yes.
somebody mentioned, are they also people
Yes.
that,
The state of Texas required that every college has a contact person. So whether it's Dallas County Community College, UT Austin, we all meet together and we make sure that our websites link up when you go to that particular website. So if you go to Dallas County Community College
Okay.
website, there's Foster Care Champions, and it will link to UT Austin or whatever the college is.
but the high schools have them too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now, Dallas ISD and Track are partnered together for the first foster care liaison within the high schools specifically right now. And so that's new, so not a lot of people know about it right now. But her name is Keisha Easterling, and right now it's only Dallas ISD. But they're hoping that it will spread.
Thank you.
Over here.
I had one comment is that a couple of years ago, my daughter did her silver award through Girl Scouts at Dan Rogers Elementary, and one of the interesting things that she commented later, she did a math tutor program, but when you walk through the halls of that elementary school, there are banners of every college, throughout the country, really, especially statewide, and it was so impressive and just instilling this excitement about going to college. So I thought that was significant and really appreciated
Microsoft
that.
spyware alert. Poor graphics
sorry.
spyware.
I'll make that
Your
go
square
away.
detected. Error number 0/800722EE7. Your computer has alerted us that it is infected with a poor graphics spyware or a square. This spyware is sending your financial details, credit card
there it is.
details,
Okay.
Facebook logins, and personal details to an
Microsoft
unknown IP address
cybersecurity.
remotely. Please
We've been
call us
cyber
immediately.
attacked.
Well,
Toll-free
clearly you
number
have to be
listed
smarter than
so
I
that
am.
our
Let's
support
see.
engineers can walk you through the
Oh, that's the
removal
way to do it.
process over the phone. If you close this page before calling us, we will.
Thank you, Mary. We'll just go back to the PowerPoint. This is proof that Brian should do only what he knows how to do and not try to do anything else that's fancy. I'm sorry, please go ahead and with your comment.
I didn't do that. The other thing I just wanted to comment about, encouraging foster youth to, if they don't want to be outed, they want their privacy. And I know that we're this huge effort that's totally necessary for schools to start identifying them and offering these services. But I also think that by extending those particular resources to other kids in low-income families, and not that they're not solely identifying this is a foster student program, but this is a program for anyone who wants to go to college or anyone who would need additional resources. And I know we get school vouchers for a lot of people, but I know that Dallas County Community Colleges, at least my understanding is they're offering free tuition-free college now. So this would be a way to get more of those kids involved and it not be so, not identifying foster youth in that and building relationships with other kids that are experiencing these things, normalizing that process in the meantime. But, there are other hurdles to overcome. But I think just working with kids who are teenagers in the foster care system and recognizing that the moving around and the instability in the new school, but if they knew that going to any school they would go, there would be a group of kids like them that were learning these same resources or exposure to these same resources.
Any thoughts about that?
I'll agree. It's really hard to get people to self-identify. That's something that I would say most organizations struggle with, especially if the young people have to self-refer. So I always offer food. That usually helps. Like, hey, pizza. They usually come. So it really is difficult. I don't know the answer to that. I think it does start more from the top in normalizing foster care, like you said, and not having the stigma that comes with it. But I don't know if that's ever going to go away or if we can make that stigma better, because it just has so many years of it being bad to be a foster kid. So I don't have an answer for that, but definitely just trying to make it more event-like, fun. Someone said fun earlier, so hopefully that draws them in.
I'm not sure what I did do because I was a rookie into this. There's a code in our internal system. I know from looking at the code what type of waiver, if they was adopted out of foster care. So I pulled those codes and those students and I invited them at that particular campus to just after class come meet. And I told them who I am and what I'm trying to do. And I had about 8 students to show up, and it could have been the timing. And I basically just shared with them what I shared with you all, that I'm here, this is what I'm here to do. They was excited because they was already into it, and they started to talk to me about what they would have wished they have known before getting started, because what I found at that point, they all had lost financial aid because they didn't understand the standards of progress. They was just taking classes to get the money. So I was able to learn a whole lot about the coulda, woulda, shoulda, and then I did ask them that question. And I think because most of them was in the system, they didn't have an issue with it. So I did start a little club called Foster Care Adoptions and Family and Friends, or some catchy title. And we did meet the first semester, and of course some of them, life happened and they did not come back. But that was just what I have done within my last year, taking on this project, just trying to sample before jumping in, coming up with the best model.
To that point, I wanted to mention that most of our campuses offer a career fair, typically in the spring semester, and it's open to all students. The formats may vary at the campus level, but it does give the students an opportunity to speak with someone in the industry, as we discussed earlier, to really get an idea. Is this something I want to go into? And sometimes high schools have their own, college and career fair as well, so it's more impersonal as opposed to the district-wide one that we hold for several thousand students. And so I know the opportunities are available to students. Our teachers don't typically know that status of a student. They know if maybe they're a SPED student or LEP, but they don't necessarily know that information. And so when they're providing opportunities, it's for all students who they are interested to teach. And so if it's there and the students can participate, then by all means we want them to be able to take advantage of those opportunities.
This may not be y'all's specialty, but relates to kids in college. And we've had a couple of resources mentioned, and I know about Ebby House it's a small operation for young women that have aged out, and then Zoe's Place. I don't know about it, but also are there places for young men, and could y'all address that, and what are the needs related to housing for kids that have aged out, either in college or other things?
So housing is a whole beast of its own. There isn't enough housing as is for, just youth who are currently in foster care, let alone youth who have aged out. So there are transitional living programs, and I will say there are very limited spots for young men. So there's a great need for housing for men. Our housing program does take in young men in our transitional living, so that's 18 to 24. And those houses are prioritized, though. So we get funding through HUD, and so with that comes specific, rules and regulations that we have to abide by to even allow someone into the housing program. So there are a few, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 that take in young men as well. So, and our housing is also LGBTQ friendly. Some of them are not. So it is hard to find, but there are not several, I said a few. There are a few. If you go to our website at citysquare.org, you can look at our housing.
Would either of the others of you like to comment on that one?
What I'm going to add, what I'm finding once they reach the community college, a lot of the foster parenting is allowing the child to stay there in the home, but they're trying to gradually help them get out and move out on their own. So I had several experiences within the last year with that particular process, and I'm assuming PAL kind of do some intrusive, are you ready with money things, because they come back and share with me. Well, she asked me how much money I got in the bank. I'm not going to tell her that. So I have to kind of figure out some things based on what I don't know, the details and what's happening on the other end. But I do know that a lot of the parents are allowing the students to stay there in the house, even though they're not receiving any more funding for them.
Right.
Correct?
And that can get sticky as well for our people who are from the State Department here. If they have younger kids in the home, and if they're not still in supervised independent living and they're allowing someone to stay in their home, that can all get really nasty. So because of their licensing laws. So it does lead to a lot of our young people experiencing homelessness just because of the rules and regulations of housing. And we are asking those questions, are you going to be willing to take a drug test to be in this housing program? Your boyfriend can't live here. Your girlfriend can't live here. Oh, okay, well, I don't want that housing. So it's just complex.
Other questions?
I have a question for Tomiko, just because I'm curious about DISD, and I'm curious about the programs that you've mentioned that DISD offers. I grew up in Dallas, and what DISD offers now is far more than I ever expected. It's really impressive. But there are 2 things specifically on the certificate and the different technical educations. Are those offered only, and this is at specific campuses? Are they at all campuses, and do you have to apply for them, or can you just apply and be selected based on some criteria, or can you just sign up for them? That's the first question.
To the actual programs?
Yes.
So it depends. Some of our programs are part of a magnet. For example, cosmetology is the only program we have in the district. It's at Skyline, and right now it is a part of the magnet program. But most of the others, it's about interest. So if there is an automotive program you're interested in Adamson High School, it's about interest. So if you have a true interest to be in that program, our programs are open enrollment, with the exception, of course, of the magnet and what have you, those specialty type programs. And so within those programs, students have the opportunity to get these industry recognized certifications that align to it. So the automotives are not at every campus, but because students have a choice to go to the school of their choosing, if you choose Samuel or Adamson or Pinkston, and if they have those programs, then you're able to participate in that. So the only exception would be our magnet programs, because of course those have a GPA testing requirement. The others just really have an interest, a desire to be a part of that program.
Okay, that's great to know. The second question that I had related to the dual credit for high school and college. How does that work? Are they taking those college classes at the high school, or or are they going to, for example, Dallas County Community College and taking classes there? And how does it cost extra?
Okay. It depends. So the collegiate academies, the students start out the first 2 years at the high school level taking a dual credit course, and then by that third year, which is about half of our collegiate academies this year, the students are taking courses at the DCCC campuses. So the other dual credit courses, the more traditional type courses you think of, even some of our CTE, are taking at the high school campus, and all of these are free of charge to our students. So it's the district and the college campuses that are taking care of the funding for that.
So one of the themes that, go ahead. We'll just get the microphone to you there first.
As we were talking, most of our kids, our foster kids, get transferred from school to school. And obviously, if you have a 16-year-old, 17-year-old taking a dual credits course, are they going to be able to enroll in another school and take that credit with them? I mean, how is that going to affect if they're moved during that process?
It mostly depends on what's available at that campus. Unfortunately, we can't say that every dual credit course is offered at every high school campus, and I have two counselors there from Woodrow Wilson, I see behind you, who can correct me on this piece. As long as the student, is continuing on with the same course and it's offered at that campus, they should be able to continue with that particular dual credit course. So that's my understanding.
I just wanted to say I had a young person who was enrolled in dual credit classes in high school, and he moved placements, and no one remembered to withdraw him from his college courses. And so when he started his schooling this first semester in college, he was already going to be on academic probation. So be mindful if you do have young people who are doing that's a separate withdrawal. So we had to do a lot of work.
Good to know. Thank you.
To get that taken care of so that he wouldn't start out his school career already.
So Lakia's comment there leads us to kind of a closing avenue for questions, which is and this will open up the answer to this question to the whole audience. What do you wish they knew, right? 2 years out of care, 2 years into college or into technical training, what was it that they didn't know that they should have known? And I think those of you who've been involved as advocates or supervisors of advocates probably have examples as well, and that can come in the form of an anecdote, a particular instance like Lakia just mentioned, or maybe a broader observation. We'll start with the panel, of course.
Well, again, the education in me, whether it's an associate's, a certificate, or just some type of classes, you need something to go along with getting that first job to support yourself. For example, the Albany Hotel, they're looking for people just to be front counter people, just to swipe the credit cards. Hi, hello, hi, may I help you? They're having trouble, just people having soft skills just to take those type of front-end jobs. So just knowing that whatever you're going to do, you need to go ahead and start on some type of what I need to do to get the job with some kind of course or getting into education in some sort, even if you don't want to be there a long time. There's something for you to get started so that you can get those things you need so that you can keep the employment.
Tomiko, how about you?
I would add on to the soft skills, definitely, but also the importance of the courses they choose. If they can take a technology course, whether it's a business information or principles of information technology course, where they're learning the Microsoft Suite package, Excel, Outlook especially, employers are looking for those skill sets. Many of our employers who have our students as interns want them to know how to use Excel spreadsheet and how to use Outlook to, send emails, to, attach, documents, to send Outlook invites, things of that sort. So if our students can really hone in on those skills, and of course if they have the certification, that's a big plus, but knowing the importance of that, because again, you're communicating when you're using those documents as well.
I'm going to add to that before I ask Lakia to chime in, because even at the law school level, we find that students come to law school and we see them as being digital natives, right? They were born with computers practically, but they often do not have basic business computer skills. They have a lot of social computer skills. And so it's not students in care, it's not students in poverty, because our students, I think, are generally fairly privileged when they reach us, or have been. It's all students seem not to have those skills. So that's worth noting if you have kids.
I would piggyback on all of those things. A lot of our youth wish that they had started actively being a part of their own lives and their planning. Usually they get it together around 23, 24 is what we're seeing, and our services end at like 23, 24, but we have our 26-year-olds come back and say, oh, I wish I'd started working on it when I was 17 or when I was 18. So really just encouraging them to start being active in their own lives, because the more they push it back, the longer it's going to take, and those services can run out. So usually they wait till the last minute to get help, and so they typically say they wish that they hadn't waited so long, or that they had been more open to receiving help. We're not CPS, but we're still associated with CPS, so they still struggle with, making those relationships and asking for help. So that's typically what we hear.
Do you feel that ties together in the sense I've heard several comments here today talking about thinking about college as early as second grade, or at least visualizing a future for yourself early? Is that an area that we might be neglecting with some of our youth in terms of not helping them take agency when it comes to visualizing their own futures?
I say yes, because again, I was a rookie in this, and what I found out, people would say, well, Shirley, you don't understand. They've been 12 homes before they get 18, and so they're just dealing with the stuff that's in front of them for survival, and that is kind of what's going on. I may have made an analysis that may not be correct, but I don't think so. So what I see is that along with that, educating those that are becoming foster parents to instill education within them, regardless if they're just there for 6 months or 2 years. So I think they need, what we all need is just that guidance, regardless where they're landing throughout that K through 12. Some basic, regardless, it needs to just keep being part of the process as they move on into the higher level grades.
And then from the audience, are there any thoughts or comments from your experiences where you think there are things that you just wish the young people who had come to you had known before they got to you or before they left your care?
I just wanted to know, for youth in care, for students in foster care that do have educational benefits, and if we're trying to encourage them to take a dual credit course so they can lock in the tuition waiver benefit, can that be, I've heard it can be any course.
Yes, it could be any course. I like to encourage my youth, take your first PE course. If you're not ready to start school yet, take walking, take jogging, do bowling. Any of those courses can activate that tuition waiver for life. So it does not have to be a core class.
Oh, and let me add one more thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I have met a guy here in the Dallas area. I've been working with foster care, and he have, with El Centro College, created a sports management certificate because he feels that a lot of students are interested in sports. So what I plan to do is develop a boot camp in the summer where students can come in and do what they like, which is sports medicine, and receive college credit while doing that. And then we will do the work that needs to be done, do that summer boot camp as well. Right, they will be enrolled in a summer boot camp, and it would do both, something that they like, which is sports medicine, as well as getting college credit for it.
Okay, I think we're approaching the end of our time. What I would like to do now is to see if anyone has any of our panelists has a specific closing comment that would like to make.
Well, I'm here and I exist. Please call me. I'm here. I'm looking forward to partnerships. If you have any ideas, if you want to write for grants, I'm looking for you, and I hope that after today that I receive some feedback, because I want to make sure this is very effective.
I just want to speak on City Square Track's behalf. Our young people are allowed to call at 17 and a half to receive services with us. It's a voluntary service. We do ask that the youth call themselves because that shows us that they are interested for themselves. A lot of times we get people calling for the youth, and so we have to tell them, why don't you have them call us? So just let the youth know that we are here until they're 24 for education if they need help with that. They just have to have been in foster care specifically for the education program just because of how the grant is set up. But let them know we're here.
Our department is here for students to be able to explore career opportunities, and so we welcome students to sign up, join, participate in a CTE course, and if possible, an entire pathway so that they really learn and understand what's available to them, and you can do it free of charge. So this is a perfect time to be able to explore if they're interested in finance or if they're interested in medicine or engineering or IT. The opportunities are endless. Thank you.
I also want to say that our grant has incentives, so if they get a certificate, I can give them $150 for getting that certificate. So let them know that. Sometimes money helps people as well.
That's certainly true. Well, I hope you'll all join me in thanking our panelists today for sharing their experiences.
Thank you, Brian, and our panelists for our very last panel, and thank all of you for participating throughout the day. Two of the panels were extremely demanding of you as participants at the symposium, but we hope that you got something out of that and that you continued to get something out of the panel as it went on that's forward-looking. Please fill out your evaluations. If you leave them in the box in which you might have filled out a CLE, they're little wooden boxes over along this wall, we would appreciate it. We'll collect them, we'll read them, and hopefully see you again next year. Thank you very much.